Thank you, dear brother Scott. Good morning to you all. In Fiji, we have a special greetings called Bula. So you could say that back to me, Bula. And that basically means hello. That's all it is. It's a one word. If you ever came to Fiji, you'll never forget the amount of times you will hear that word. Well, I'm so glad to be here this morning. And now Community Bible Church, but Bible Church of Buena Park and Anaheim Community Church goes back a few years, how the Lord allowed our family to be partnering with this ministry here. So thankful to the Lord for the journey so far. It has been an encouragement, a blessing to us for what we do back home. Your prayers, your encouragement and support, we value that a lot. So thank you for standing with us in this mission. Well, I'm looking forward to sharing a few things, and I mean that few things. There's a lot of things that does take place in our lives, and I won't be going over all of those things. I would like to finish it a little early than the scheduled time, so that if there is any question, if there's anything that you'd like to know more about or interests you, then it will give you that opportunity. Well, I've just traveled by myself at this time. Of course, happy to see Charlene here. But Ashwin and Abby sends their Fiji greetings to you all. And they would have loved to come. Ashwin would have loved to come if it wasn't for Abby's school. Abby is in year 8. And so before she goes to high school, this is a special year for her. So I bring greetings from the College of Theology and Evangelism Fiji. Short form for that is Fiji Bible College. And also I bring special greetings to you from all the Bible churches in Fiji. There's two things I will share about today, and those two things dominate my own life. My family's, that's what revolves around us. And one of that is the college, the theological institution. The other one is the church ministry. So I'll begin with the college, and as I said, the College of Theology and Evangelism Fiji, a long name, mouthful, lots of words there, but in short, a lot of people know us by Fiji Bible College. If you did the math, then from 74, this is 2024. This is our 50th years in existence by the grace of God, and still going. By God's grace, I am the second president of that school. So the long-serving founder and president of the school is still alive and still lecturing at the college. He's going to be 87 years old this December. What is our mission? To train men for life and ministry, building their education on the Word of God. Many years ago, Dr. Nair, who's the founder of the school, identified this challenge in the Pacific. Lots and lots of churches. No shortage of churchgoers on a Sunday morning. But what happens behind those four walls is another story. Preaching of the word, following the biblical model of ministry that's prescribed, is missing. And that has what caused or brought about the birth of the Fiji Bible College. That's a shot of where we are. This is our campus on a 5-acre property. Right now, heavily termite infested, so you can pray. Neither the government nor do we have any answer to that. But here we are. It is about 10 minutes drive from the main town or city, so we are on a rural setting, surrounded by sugarcane fields. This is our current faculty. And just before coming over here, last week we had our orientation. And the reason we had our orientation a little late this time because it takes time for students to get from wherever they are in the islands. So unlike other schools that can, students will be there on day one and things like that, we have other challenges. So in this picture, the gentlemen that are standing in the front, they are our lecturers. Some of them are senior lecturers, others are tutorial staff. And then the college students have a blue uniform, if you can see, blue shirt. They are our student body. What is our call? To evangelize nations. So we would desire our ministry to be very gospel focused in everything that we do. Train nationals, great need for that, and train them properly. As I said, no shortage of churches and ministries out there. And to plant churches because there are unreached people groups. Even in our country, we have a pretty large size presence of two major religions, Hinduism and Islam. I won't go ahead and share my own testimony with you this morning, but I was saved out of the darkness of Hinduism myself. The Lord brought me out from something that we inherited from India. I had no idea that I was on the wrong path. I had no idea. I was on the broad road leading to destruction. I was not looking for truth. I wasn't looking for a savior. And the Lord sought me out. He came looking for me and found me where I was as a young kid. And that happened because of the ministry of the Bible college that was 1 minute walk from where I grew up. So as my wife Ashwin and I are in this Bible college, it means a lot to us how the Lord had even brought us to himself through the ministry of the Bible college. And equipping saints, as I said, we have several churches. Last year we had only 2 students who graduated with Bachelor of Divinity. So I put this picture for you to that we are excited about these men. This is their final year with us. And all of them are Fijian nationals, except for one, the gentleman who is standing on the second from the other side is Tuvaluan, one of the most least visited islands in this world. He happens to be from there. And this is our residency students. There's 22 of them this year. For the last 4 to 5 years, we had not been able to reach 20 mark because of COVID and other challenges that there was. But we're thankful. I think there's one gentleman who was sick and not present, but we have 22 students in this group. We also have 2 grandfathers in that group too, and I only found out about that as during orientation everybody stands up and shares a little bit about themselves, and so we have some very young men there who have come right out of high school. There are those who are in the ministry, maybe in their 40s or so, and they are training with us, and then there are those who are, as I said, grandfather age. I would like to take this time now to just highlight every one of them in this picture has a story. They have a journey. And I love those stories because those stories in one way or the other reflect the hand of the Lord and how the Lord is building his church even in our region over there. So I will highlight just a few over here, and starting with this particular gentleman. Long name there, but you pronounce that as Josiah Kurunduandua. He's a 4th year student, but he did not do 3 years residency with us. He was attending a Assemblies of God, or was it a Pentecostal church, and a high school teacher in town, where he met a young woman from one of our fellowships, and as they both identified themselves as believers, and maybe, one of those days in the staff room or something, they were talking, and she mentioned to him about, we have a bookstore in town, and if you ever want to pick up any resources, a good study Bible, you could go and do that. And then she also mentioned to him about our training program. We have one on our campus, that's in the place called Bombo, and the other one is we operate in town, where we come once a month, first week of every month, and it's in the evening for those who cannot attend full time. And he got very interested because he was a high school teacher. He came first. It was a little bit uncomfortable for him because of his different denomination. But what he found we were offering really intrigued him. It drew him in. And so he finished 10 classes with us and got his certificate in biblical studies. Now, when he was doing that, I was still in the States. So I had not met him in that first program. When I went back, then as I was teaching diploma classes, I met him there. And again, getting to know him. And as he went through some of the classes, he told me that he would like to come and do one class, he wanted to come and audit it. I thought, wow, this is a very dedicated student, because usually someone, when they are done with one class, they think of how I can finish the program. And he came, and it was the Cup and the Glory class that one of the professors from Master's Seminary is retired now, Dr. Greg Harris. He had put that book together. And I didn't know all this time, I had met with this, but during orientation, he shared with me that even though he was in the church for a long time, it was when he was going through the content of the Cup and the Glory book that he got saved in the class. And he was born again there. Again, he kept it very quiet. He had not shared specifically, but during orientation. So I responded to them. I'll say I'll drop an email to Dr. Harris to encourage him by saying how his ministry is, how the Lord is impacting even as far as where we are. So this gentleman was doing our extension program. Now, our extension program ends with diploma. We don't have anything established in bachelor's level. So he came and he said to me, after diploma, now what? I said, well, we don't have anything for you. He said, please don't do this to me. This journey that has begun with me in the study of the Word and the truth, help me. And so he forced me particularly to design something for him so that I could keep him busy. And so he started to do independent studies. Whatever we were doing on the campus, I would provide to him. And it was lot of due diligence, and he would submit. And then halfway through, so that there will be 20 classes that he will do. He has done 10 of it. And this year something happened. He decided to resign from his school teaching career. And he said, the way I'm doing this, it's slow pace. Why am I taking the things of the Lord, on a secondary level? I should give up my career. And so he came to me at my office, and he sat down and said, and I looked at him, and I asked him two very straightforward questions. And the first one was, does your wife know this? And has she approved it? Because I do know his wife is not on the same page with him. So they're still stuck in a Pentecostal church. And he cannot go to worship somewhere else because the wife would not go. She's a die-hard fan of that particular fellowship. And the gentleman has tried everything to show her. And so that was my first question to him. He said, yeah, she's on board. I said, you're going to pull out from your teaching career. Will you be able to provide for your family? And he said, I have made all those arrangements because this was in my heart, and I've been saving up. And if I stepped out from that. So I said, well, those were the only two questions, and you have all of our permission and approval to join. So this is our orientation week, and he shared, of course, about his salvation in one of our programs. And the Lord is really doing some wonderful work in his life. And his future goal is that he would like to be in the teaching business, but not so much teaching in just high schools, but he wants to teach the word. The high school in which he was serving last year had about 900 or so, 800 to 900 students. And it's a Roman Catholic church, a Roman Catholic school, because the government posts you where you but he told me one interesting story. He said when the Roman Catholic school would have their own, whatever they do, their religious education, and they knew he was a believer, they said, all the non-Roman Catholics, can you look after them? So while they were doing their Roman Catholic thing, he would have 200 to 250 students where he would be teaching them the Bible. And again, all these things, just to hear them. Wow. So let me move on from Josiah. So pray for Josiah. Pray for his wife. That the Lord would liberate her, help her to see the truth. But I can say this man Josiah is on fire. Then we have this gentleman. He's a Tongan, now serving in Fiji. He did diploma studies with us a while ago. And he is part of the Methodist system in Fiji. So Methodist churches are the mainline churches in our country. And most of our students that we train, they come from the denomination. And they are fine for us to give them the training. They are okay with what our school stands for. Not all of them. Some of them would not go too well with what we are doing. But this gentleman, after a few years of interval, attended a conference we did last year. It was a Reformation conference. I will also show you pictures of that later. And somehow he got the word, and he came and he said, that was our first Reformation conference we did. And again, the Lord used that, and he was attending the conference, and then he went home, I think, to talk to his wife and talk to his board. And he said, I need not be content with my diploma, but the role that I'm playing. So he is part of a Methodist church in Bar, a large Methodist church, and then he has several circuits that comes under him. So he has a huge responsibility. And so now he has come to join our program, which we are thankful for, so that we can teach him the word. And he sits in Bible exposition classes, and he can learn good hermeneutics. So we are thankful for this gentleman and the work that the Lord has committed him to do. I was cautioning him. I said, sometimes we have a class starting at 6 a.m. I said, you live in the next town. Would you be able to make it? He said, that's fine. I can drive. I can be here. Just whatever it takes. So these are some of the commitments, and of course, being a pastor, not easy. The other day he came, he said, I have to miss class. I said, what happened? He said, death in the church. I have to go to a funeral. So there are still challenges, but he has taken full-time classes with us. This is another gentleman. Vatili is his name, and brethren churches would be the only churches, or one of those churches that come or align quite close to us as a Bible church movement. So we have no shortages of churches in Fiji. So we're thankful that this man is at least in a sound church, and then again training with us. He was working for a department in our country. It was called Public Works Department. So again, the Lord called him. He gave that up. His wife could work and provide for the family so that he could be a full-time minister of the gospel. And we're grateful to have him also. And of course, as I said, everyone sitting in the chair has a story. Some have come from outer islands. Takes a while to get to the country. I'll share just one more thing. The gentleman who is sitting beside him, um, next to him, comes from such a remote place. He had never seen a car, a bus. And the first time when he came from this remote island and he stood and he told me as a kid, he was just speechless, just looking at, And Fiji is quite spread out, 300 islands. But here is the thing. If you ever went on a boat and visited all these islands, you will find one thing. Methodist churches, regardless of how remote, wherever they are. So missionaries came during the 1800s. London Missionary Bible Society kept sending them. And I believe they did preach the gospel. Whatever has happened to the Methodist Church today, I had had a good study of some of the things that they did. I looked at some historical records. And within 50 years of the missionaries landing, historical records tell us that there was not one Fijian on the island who was practicing cannibalism. So when they came, very savage, heathenistic, and yet what the gospel did. Well, college, what does it stand for? This is how the college was founded, 50 years in the going. We hope that we will stay focused on this. The things which you have heard from, says Paul to Timothy, in the presence of many witnesses, entrust this to faithful people who will be able to teach others also. Our mission field, a lot of people don't know Fiji. I know some have mistaken Fuji for Fiji. Fuji is in Japan. We don't blame them, because you can clearly identify Australia, but who can identify Fiji? It's a small, tiny dot on the globe. And yet, like I said, 300 islands. 2 main islands. I come from the main island, which is called Vitilevu. There's another island called Vanuatu. But why do I put this picture on for you? Fiji is... Fiji is right here. You see my finger? So, it's very strategically located. And sometimes I think about, you hardly find an institution like ours, what we are doing. And yet, God had put us in a strategic place so that all these island nations that we are saving, they're surrounding us. And this is just, biblically speaking, what we are doing for the Lord. But economically, same thing. Fiji is looked in the Pacific as the big brother amongst the other island nations. We set the pace for them with everything. Big universities and other things. So, crossroads. And that's where we are. Sometimes even if I look at our own history, I'm an Indian. What am I doing there in that island? And again, the Lord's promises of I will build my church. And even with whichever empire was moving people around at whatever given time and all that, there still serves a purpose. So I'm a 4th generation from southern part of India. I don't want to go back to India. We love what we are doing in the Fiji Islands. As you can see on this picture, I have indicated with yellow and green, or rather blue, yellow and blue. So you could be praying, praising and praying, praising God for He has opened doors. Not easy places to go into. When Tim Chalice and Tim Kazi were trying to do this, they had been working on this project, worship project. We tried so hard to get to Tonga in this 21st century. Not interested. Not interested. We tried to, even with conservative churches, they're just very protective. They're very scared. They don't want outside influence. Even though things they're doing wrong, we try to go and help. It's a very different island mentality. And yet, despite all that, God has opened doors. But if you can see the other places where we have an eye to go, we are praying for an opening. So you could praise God for the places He has taken us, the places or the nations we have made inroads, but other places we have yet to make inroads. So work is still incomplete in that sense. What does our college offer? These are a few things we do and keeps us busy. Keeps us sometimes very busy. We are short staff. We don't have highly trained professionals with us. So it's what we got. But we thank you for those who commit themselves to this kind of ministry. Our institution, our organization is faith-based. So whoever joins us doesn't have any paychecks or no salaries. We just operate on the George Miller principle. Trust the Lord. And trust Him that He will provide for you. And that's how we have been operating. Never had a scenario where we had to do an emergency meeting. Said the Lord had not provided, so we have to shut down for a few weeks or months. Until He provides, we can reopen. We have never had that scenario. And just shows the faithfulness of God. So we have no idea what next month looks like. Zero idea. So far we have 12 men who teach at the college. Sometimes people see the size of our faculty, even like 10 lecturers and about 6. So you don't have the budget, you have all these people. How do you do it? Yeah, they are volunteers. Some are pastoring and they become adjunct professors. And we operate with donations. We have those who love what we are doing and they partner. And that's how we are doing what we are doing. I'm very thrilled and excited when, I've grown up in that ministry. After 14 years serving there, I came out here, got trained, went back. So this is my 30 years with the ministry. And personally, I believe if the Lord doesn't come back soon, we still have a lot that our school, our institution can achieve. There are still open doors. The great things that still could be done. Laborers are few, but for me the prospects are high, or even I would say very high. And so we'll see what the Lord will do in days ahead. This is a picture from last year's graduation. And you would see some ladies graduating. Don't read that wrong. We believe in elder rule. We believe in the way the Bible describes. But we want to give opportunity to everyone to know the Word, know the Lord, know the truth. And ladies also have ministry opportunities where they can be ministering to other ladies. The gentleman, as you can see in the picture, handing over the degree to Telua. I'll share quickly his story. He had an epic journey. When we first interviewed him, he was recommended by his pastor, who was our Master of Arts Biblical Studies student, and he brought him and said, in Tuvalu, it's very hard to find good men, and this is one young man I've been discipling. I would like him to be trained. Can you take him in your institute? And so we have to do all the proper paperwork. And we looked at his high school grades and things, and he doesn't qualify. And here is this gentleman appealing on one side, and the other side, we are an accredited school, or recognized school in the nation, so we just can't sneak him in. We can be in trouble. So we thought, what are we going to do? So we thought, well, why don't we put him on a participation status that doesn't violate the government regulations? And if he does well, then we can see how we can credit some of those things or move it. Anyway, to cut the story short, when I used to pass by any of the lecture rooms or things like that, I'll see lights on, and I'll see this particular student just, studying. Why? Because he wasn't very smart. He was working so hard in that first year that his quizzes and his tests were better than the ones who had come with proper qualification. I thought, whoa. And this is 4 years. If you spoke to him, he had terrible English. And I thought, how is he going to write papers? Because the school report showed. But even someone like him, and with the Lord's help, so he had an epic journey. And he's now gone back to Tuvalu to help his pastor. And there are graduates kneeling for prayer. The gentleman standing beside me, we were in class together. That's back in 2008, 2009, 2010. And last year, the Lord opened the door. There was a church that was praying for us for a long time. And from last year, they decided to partner with us. And Manny Pereira and his fellow brother there, Elder Errol, both of them came. I don't know if anyway, even with Manny's story, I was very intrigued when I first met him. He was a former scientist working in Silicon Valley. And when I heard his testimony, I said, wow. I think Master Seminary will have him as the record that nobody can break. Like they said, who has been traveling like furthest? And everybody was raising their hands. And he was flying from San Jose. So with distance-wise, I think he might hold the record. So for 3 years, every week, this gentleman flew to attend classes and then flew back. So it was wonderful how the Lord even connected us with the ministry. They're coming back to help us in some wonderful ways. May I share that quickly? They looked at, because from Silicon Valley and all the software engineering and everything that goes on, and Pacific, we are so behind with everything. And they looked at our needs, and so there are 3 things that they are going to do to help us. One is they'll help us with our library and IT work and all the networking. They said that they were going to finance, bring men over to help us. Next thing, they looked at we have a huge retreat center and event hall, but we have terrible sound situations we can't solve for the last 4 years. Sound bounces around, acoustics was not taken care of, and they said, don't leave it to us. We will bring some professionals to help them. But here's another one that they would really want to help us with, and this is a big one. I was always hoping somebody would step up, but it's a big thing to do. We have a huge bill for us every month on our electricity because of all the operations, and it takes a chunk of the donations that come. So they said, we'll see if we can put solar panels all over your campus, and that will be a huge blessing and ease our budget if that happens. So again, these are partnerships. We never wrote those 3 things to this church or to these elders and say, can you help us in these areas? The Lord brought them. They saw what we are doing. And then they went back, had a talk about these things, and they came back. So why I'm sharing this with you, as I said, how the Lord carries us through for so many years. Who He brings, when He brings, all these things we marvel at. Of course, Abby and Charlene there. As you can see, not Charlene, sorry. Abby and Ashwin there. You see Abby's growing fast. She is taller than Ashwin now. Pray for these men. These are our residency students. And this is our conference that we had. So right after our graduation last year, we had a follow-up conference. And Manny has done some work on, he spoke on conferences on this topic of Reformation. So he proposed, he said, can we do something on that? I said, yeah, by all means. It was a great time in the Word looking at things from church history. So we had participants here. Then from that, after 2 weeks, I flew over to the second big island called Savu Savu, and we did a church health conference over there. So the visitors had come back to California, and we still had, after graduation, 2 ministries still going on. And so this is where we were. It's a Brethren church in the town of Savu Savu, and there were a lot of churches represent there, elders and pastors from 2 towns. a missionary by the name of Mike Ball, who's serving in one of our churches. Originally from the States here, he came, and both of us did the teaching. In Fiji, people like to eat, and so lots of nice things just for morning tea, and they just dish things out, lots of goodies over there. As I finish off, I just quickly want to share about this gentleman. So I was in Savu last year, which is an hour's flight, and I met with this gentleman. He was a graduate of 2017 from our school. I remember him to be a very good student. Some of the papers you turn in, I said, wow, this is seminary quality. Not rarely would you find someone. He shared his testimony with me. He said, I didn't know all these things. When I met with him and took him out for lunch as I was in Savu, then he shared with me when he said, I came to the college. During my third year, I made a decision, I will cut ties with Methodist Church. But he said, I never told anybody. Now, Methodist Church is the largest movement in our country. Now, to cut ties with them simply means you are kind of on the road now. You won't have any support base. You won't have any ministry prospects because they have the infrastructure and people are very loyal to the denomination. So if you went another way, you won't have any following. You're on your own. But he said, I had made a resolve. I don't know what it would look like, how I'm going to do it. So when he left, he did not go to their training center. So after they leave, for them to be a prospect or a candidate to serve somewhere, they have to go to the Methodist. He avoided that. He was just praying, trusting the Lord. So he didn't have ministry for a while. And then he ran into a few folks who said, well, we want to start a Baptist walk in Vanuatu, which is in South. So he joined them. And he shared with me that they didn't really go well. For 3 years, he worked hard. He gathered a lot of families in his home, and they were just meeting in the home. And it was some other men who were, giving oversight or helping him financially. And he said it was not going anywhere. He said, my house could not hold people anymore. And so I said to him, remember we had talks about maybe we buy a land, build something, and they're just quiet, not saying anything. And then he met with this brethren church, which is kind of shrinking and dying. And they met him and they approached him and said, would you like to come in and do shepherding work here? And so, it's like brethren churches are more sound. So that's his new vocation. And as he shared all these things with me, when I was there for the conference, the board wanted to meet with me personally. And they said, can we have a meeting with you? I said, didn't know really what was it about. But when I met with them, they approached us and they had a proposal. They said that we are requesting if your college can come here and start an extension campus. We have a facility and we have a lot of Christian workers over here who definitely need some training. Can you provide that? My heart's erupted with joy because that's what we exist for. That's what our calling is. And of course, we don't have the money to go and just build things in other places, but here was a provision. So I was there a week ago, before coming out here, and taught fundamentals of faith, material approved by Dr. MacArthur. And I tell you the hunger there was. I used to have, 4 days of classes, 3 hours. Sometimes I would go 3.5 hours. And there were 12 men and a few women who also came. They joined, and they said, when I used to finish, they said, too short. Too short. That's the kind of hunger they had. And there was a guy who was a fireman, and now he's thinking about college, a former Roman Catholic. And Kameli was the one who went to the fire station. These are stories that now I hear. I have no idea. We graduate, we send them. And when he was in Savu, as I said, he didn't really have a ministry, but he tried what he could. So he went and approached the station officer and said, can I come in like a chaplain? And the station officer approved. And so every week he would be there for 1 hour to study. So he started with 8 men who were working in that station, ended up with 1 gentleman. And that 1 gentleman said, whatever happens, don't stop coming. And he was the guy who was converted from Roman Catholicism. And Kamini led him to the Lord and his family to the Lord. And now, when I went to this conference, he was sitting right in front, took leave for the whole week, and now he's seriously thinking about, I want to come. He has 5 kids, so he's thinking, 5 kids. I go to the college, meaning I can't be a fireman anymore. So you understand what I mean, how will he handle all that? And he's already talking to his 15-year-old kid, 15-year-old son, about the things of the Lord, and go to the Bible college when you grow up. So really, really exciting for me to hear some of these things. I mean, we are not coming up on these things, it's the Lord doing these wonderful things. So pray for Kameli. Pray for the work in the second big island. We have not done much work. We've done a lot of work on the first big island. We have rarely done. There we have 2 churches, but they're small churches. But Sabu Sabu is a new territory for us. So please keep that in prayer. 2 Timothy 2:2 injunction carried out. As I mentioned, that's our motto. And I just quickly want to share with you the 4 spiritual generations that you find mentioned in 2 Timothy 2:2. And Paul says, Paul has a Timothy. And what is Paul saying to Timothy? Entrust this to faithful men. And the work doesn't stop there, who also have an important responsibility on their shoulders to teach others also. So I think about those men who have invested in my life, my Pauls. Dr. Nair, one of them. I'm very thankful for Dr. Greg Harris for many things that he has taught me. And if I'm the Timothy, then you see a person like Kameli, who I've just showed you the picture of, that's one of the faithful men. And then when I went and did this conference, Kameli invited all these other men and women teaching others. They didn't specify over there men or women. And I thought, wow, thank you, Lord. Help us so that this is what we do until you come. So keep us in your prayers. And these are stories someone has shared, I have shared with you. What about all the stories we don't even will get to share or hear? But it's all our wonderful Lord doing these things. Church movements, Louvre Bible Church there started in 1980. We have a new church plant. So this is a picture from our Sunday morning. We don't have a facility of our own, we use the College Chapel. But here's a picture to give you an idea. I need to update it because in Lambasa now we have 2 fellowships. And so we do have 2 fellowships here, but this is the place I was talking about where I've been going recently. I once went there, but the door closed very quickly. Couldn't go back there. I went there in 2015. But that's the main island over here. And when Scott and Heidi were here with us this last year, we are in Lautoka and we drove to Reki Reki, which is our new church plant. And it's just, our work started 2 years ago. We had a graduate. We sent them there, and Ashwin and I go there once a month. It's a 4-hour total drive to go and come back. But we go there, meet with the saints, encourage them. A long way to go. We need to buy a land. We need to build a facility. But very staunch place with Hindus. It has the place where the Lord has taken us in the village has the biggest Hindu temple, and a lot of lost people over there. Well, your partnership is valuable, and we thank God. It gives me the opportunity to come here and thank Community Bible Church for you partnering with us in praying, in giving, and as you do so, we get to do what we have been called to do. So thank you from our ministry, personally from us, for your kindness. If you want to know more about our ministry, you can check on Amazon this particular book called Beyond All Reason. I will tell you more about the work the Lord is doing. I'm standing here to give you an invitation. Please mark the dates, October 9, 10, 11, 12. You can come visit us and celebrate with us the legacy of God's faithfulness for 50 years. And we are going to have a celebration. October 9, 10, 11, 12. 12, we will sum up with graduation. We have good speakers. I will just mention a few names. Dr. Rick Holland, if you know, he was at Grace Community Church and Master's Seminary for many years. He's in Kansas now. He's one of the keynote speakers. Dr. Richard Vargas from IFCA, he's a keynote speaker that's coming. Our international director with the missions agency, the IFCI ministry, Dan Rudman, he is coming to be a speaker. And Dr. Paul Felix, some of you know that name. So they are coming. And I hope that Pastor Scott and Pastor Ed and all of you can come. I know that there are some churches that are bringing a group, so that is not pastors are not only coming. They have opened up. And from our side, it's opened up also. But if you can take care of your airfare, and if you can take care of your 4 or 5 days accommodation, that's all. Everything else we provide. We'll help you with meals, we'll help you with transportation. Will be a wonderful encouragement for you and for us if you came. Thank you for giving this time. I know we may be out of time, but if there is any questions I can quickly take, anybody has anything to say? All good? Well, thank you. I'll hand it over to you. Let me close in a word of prayer. Oh, gracious Father, we are so thankful that we can come this Lord's Day and ponder upon who you are, what you have done, what you are doing, and what you have promised to do in the days ahead. Help us in our calling to run the race with endurance that is set before us. Help us in every way, Lord, to excel in the things that we are already doing. May we make much of you. May we give you all the praise and glory that you deserve. And pray, Lord, that you would help Community Bible Church here and all that it stands for. And I pray that there will be a lighthouse over here in this community. And also, Lord, that this church will become very instrumental in the way that it propagates the gospel and its ministry, not just locally, but throughout the entire world. Thankful for our partnership. In Jesus' precious name, amen.